Hello, everyone. My name is Kate Knaps, and I'm the children's librarian here at the Fair Lawn Library. This summer, our summer reading club theme is Imagine Your Story, which is a wonderful opportunity for us to think about some of our folk tales and fairy tales traditions from years gone by. And back in the olden days, before we had internet, before we had television, before we had radio, people would entertain themselves by sitting around at night and swapping stories. And some stories went from country to country all around the world. Every culture has a version of the Cinderella story, which is pretty interesting. So we all share stories, but lately, as our society moves faster and faster, we've kind of moved away from storytelling. So tonight, we're going to try to bring some old-fashioned storytelling back into your lives, and maybe you will be inspired to remember some stories from your childhood that you can share with your children, parents. And kids, who knows, maybe you can make up some stories, because storytelling is so fun. Now, at the end of today, we're going to be sharing some drawing stories. And for the drawing stories, you're going to need some scrap paper. And as we tell these stories, I'm going to be telling the stories. My assistant, Amirta, will be drawing the stories step by step. And you will draw along with Amirta, and you'll have a finished product at the end. And drawing stories are super fun. But I want to get this party started with one of my favorite stories of all times, because it's just a little bit scary. And it's called The Gunny Wolf. And this is an American story. It comes from the African-American tradition. And this is how it goes. Once upon a time, a little girl lived with her mother in a small house at the edge of a wood. In that wood lived a gunny wolf. And the little girl's mother always said to her, "My daughter, please, whatever you do, never go into the woods, because that's where the big gunny wolf lives." And the little girl promised her mother, "Oh, mother, I will never go into the woods." Well, one day, the mother had to go into the town, and she said to her daughter, "I am going to go into town. I am going to leave you here in the house by yourself. Stay inside, lock the door, and whatever you do, don't go anywhere near the woods and the gunny wolf." Oh, the little girl said, "Oh, mother, I won't go anywhere near the woods. I will stay in the house. Go, you go, I'll be fine." So the mother went into town, and what do you think that little girl did? Yep, she went outside. She looked out of the window. It was such a beautiful day. It was too beautiful to be cooped up inside. So she unlocked the door, opened it up, and stepped out into the yard. And she was in the yard enjoying the sunshine when she noticed, right at the edge of the woods, not in the woods, still in the yard, but at the edge, there were some beautiful blue wildflowers growing. And she said, "Oh, my mother would love these wildflowers. I'm going to pick a few for her and surprise her when she comes home." So the little girl went, pit-a-pat, pit-a-pat, pit-a-pat-pat-pat, over to the wildflowers, and she started to pick. And as she picked the wildflowers, she sang this little song, "Coom, come, quai, mo, tra-bla, tra-bla." And she had a nice little clump of the blue wildflowers when she noticed, just a little bit in the woods, just right over the border, there were some beautiful red flowers. Oh, these red flowers would look so nice with the blue ones. Oh, surely it wouldn't do any harm if I just picked a few. So very quietly, the little girl tiptoed into the woods. Pit-a-pat, pit-a-pat, pit-a-pat-pat-pat. And she began to pick the red flowers. Coom, come, quai, mo, tra-bla, tra-bla. And she put the red flowers with the blue flowers, and then she saw, just a little further over there, beautiful, beautiful purple flowers. Oh, purple's her mother's favorite color. She must get them. So very carefully and very quietly, she tiptoed over to the purple flowers. Pit-a-pat, pit-a-pat, pit-a-pat-pat-pat. And she started to pick. Coom, come, quai, mo, tra-bla, tra-bla. Well, just as she had her bouquet and was about to turn around and go home, she heard a honka-cha, honka-cha, honka-cha. It was the big, gray gunny wolf. And he came to that little girl. And he said, "Little girl, sing that good little, sweet little song again." So she did. Cum cum quimo troubla troubla. And as she sang in a good clear voice, the gunny wolf took his eyes and closed them and fell asleep. And then the girl tiptoed away as quietly as she could. Pit-a-pat, 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 pat, pat. But she didn't go far when she heard honka-cha, honka-cha, honka-cha. It was the big, great gunny wolf. And he said, "Little girl, why for you move?" And she said, "Uncle Wolf, why should I move?" And he said, "You sing that good little, sweet little song again." And so she did. Cum cum quimo troubla troubla, in a good clear voice. And the gunny wolf, he closes his eyes and he went to sleep. And the little girl tiptoed away. Pit-a-pat, 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 pat, pat. She could almost see the edge of the woods, but then all of a sudden she heard honka-cha, honka-cha, honka-cha. It was the big, great gunny wolf. The little girl stopped and he said, "Little girl, why for you move?" "Oh, Uncle Wolf, why shall I move?" "You sing that good little, sweet little song again." And so she did. Now try to sing it with me at home. Cum cum quimo troubla troubla. And that gunny wolf, he closes his eyes, he goes to sleep, and that little girl tiptoed away. Pit-a-pat, 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 pat, pat. There she was, right at the edge of her yard, just about to step over when honka-cha, 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 it was the gunny wolf again. And he said, "Little girl, why for you move?" "Oh, Uncle Wolf, why shall I move?" "Sing that good little, sweet little song again." So she did. Please sing it with me. Cum cum quimo troubla troubla. And that gunny wolf, he closes his eyes and goes to sleep. And that little girl tiptoed away. Pit-a-pat, 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 pat, pat, right into her backyard. Pit-a-pat, 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 pat, pat, right to her front steps. Pit-a-pat, 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 pat, pat, right through the door. And she closed the door and she locked the door. Well, from that day forward, that little girl never disobeyed her mother again. And never again did she see the big, gray gunny wolf. The end. And now I am going to introduce my assistant Amirta, who will share a different story for you.
Hello, my name is Miss Amirta, and today I'm going to be sharing some tales that hail all the way from India. So these tales are known as the tales from the Panchatantra. Let me give you a little explanation about that. So these stories come from a very famous king who was looking to find a famous sage that could teach his sons about how important it is to love to learn. So eventually he found a sage, and his name was Sage Vishnu Sharma. Now this sage knew so much knowledge, and he decided to share this knowledge with the king's sons by telling them various stories about different animals and different people who got themselves into some situations that have very famous morals and values that we should all practice even today. Now, after the sons learned these stories, they decided to pass it on to their children, who passed it on to their children, who passed it on to their children, and the cycle goes on and on. So people all over India now know these stories, and they share their stories with their friends and their family. These stories have been very famous for a very long time, and today I'm going to share them with you. Today we're going to talk about 3 different stories that will be presented in this segment. I hope you're excited. So the first story we have up today is known as The Crow and the Fox. So one day, a beautiful crow had set itself up upon a tree when he heard a beautiful smell. "Ooh, it smells delicious," he says. And so the crow decides to fly around off his tree and see where the delicious smell was coming from. He searched up and below, far and beyond in search of the delicious smell, but he couldn't find it. Soon, he came to a windowsill. He saw a fresh, delicious cookie sitting on the window. This cookie looks delicious," he said, and so the crow took the cookie in his mouth and decided to go back up on his tree and perch himself right upon there. In that time, a jackal had also smelled the delicious cookie and decided to make his way up, and he saw the crow. What a delicious cookie. I must have it somehow, the jackal said. So the jackal went up to the crow and told him, "Oh, beautiful crow, would you please sing a song for me?" The crow decided not to say anything, for he had the delicious cookie still in his mouth. "Oh, beautiful crow, your songs are so beautiful. I would do anything to listen to them. No one's song compares to yours." And the crow listened to this and thought to himself, maybe I should sing just for this jackal. And the jackal continued to give praises to the crow over and over again. Finally, the crow decided to open his mouth and start to sing. La la la, and just as he sang, the cookie falls out of the crow's mouth and onto the ground. The jackal then decides to take the cookie and run off with it. The crow was extremely sad and then learned a very important message. Remember, kids, it's always important to make sure that you don't let your arrogance get the best of you. And since that day on, the crow decided not to listen to anyone's praises and just be happy with what he had, because if he continued to be greedy, then he would lose the things that he has already. The end. This next story is known as The Lion and the Hare. This story is about how even small creatures can win against a formidable foe. So one day, there was a big, scary lion. He ruled the forest with all of his might. Now this lion was very, very mean, and he had one rule that scared every animal in the forest. Once a week, every Friday, I must be given one animal as sacrifice to keep myself hungry. I am getting old, so I am unwilling to go hunt out for some food. At first, the animals tried to stop this, but the minute they stopped setting food, the lion would come and attack them. So they decided it would be fair for one animal to go every week, rather than the lion just attacking everyone in the jungle. Every animal had to go at one point. First, it was the bear, and once they gave the bear in, the bear went into the lion's lair. Next, the monkey came. Ah! The monkey decided to go into the lair as well. Even the elephant had to come at one point too, and the elephant went into the lion's lair. One day, it was the hare's turn. Now the hare was a very, very small thing, and was very, very scared of even going near the lion. "Oh my God, the lion is going to eat me. It's not fair," she said. But everyone said, "Young hare, everyone must have a turn and go to the lion." So the hare decided that she needed to come up with a clever plan before she went to the lion. And so she decided to not go that one Friday, and she went on Saturday instead. When she arrived, the lion was very angry. "Hare, why didn't you come yesterday? I was starving. Now I'm going to eat you and all your brothers and sisters." The hare was frightened, but she had a plan in mind. "Oh, angry lion, the reason I didn't come was there was a huge other lion who threatened me not to come. She ate all of my brothers and sisters." The lion was very angry. "How dare someone eat my food? You must take me to this lion at once." So the hare decided to take the lion off to the other lion. So as they went on their journey, the lion decided to stop and take some rest and sleep for a bit. In that time, the hare had to think of a plan. She remembered that there was a big well on the other side of the jungle, and so she decided to take the lion there. Once the lion woke up from his nap, she decided to take him to the well. "Oh, lion, the lion is right in there." And the lion decided, "You know what? I must attack this lion so that he does not eat any more of my food." The lion looked inside, then saw his own reflection and jumped into the well. The lion was then never seen again as he fell into the well. The hare went back to all the other jungle animals, delighted that she had saved them from this plight. And so the moral of the story, kids, is even if you're small and you're going up a scary task, if you're smart enough and find a clever way to beat it, you can accomplish anything. The end. Our last story for today is known as The Tortoise Who Spoke. This story is a tale about how sometimes it's better to stay silent than speak up. So one day, there was a very sad tortoise. He was living on the edge of the desert and he had no water to drink, and he was so very thirsty. However, the water was on all the way on the other side of town, and by the time he could reach there, he would have died. So he was struggling and didn't know what to do. "Oh no, I'm so thirsty. Whatever shall I do?" he said. Soon a duck came along and asked the tortoise about his plight. "Tortoise, what's wrong?" asked the duck. The tortoise replied by saying, "I am so thirsty, and I have no way to get to any water." The duck thought to herself, "Well, can't you fly?" "No, I'm a tortoise. I have no wings." The duck immediately had an idea. She had big, beautiful wings, and she thought of an idea that would get her and the tortoise some water. "How about this? I'll bring a stick, and on that stick, I will hold it in my beak and fly. And at the same time, you can hold the stick in your mouth, and I can take you across town so that you can drink some water." The tortoise was very grateful. "Oh, duck, thank you so much for this idea." And so the duck ran off to get a stick. As soon as she got the stick, she held on to one end and brought it to the tortoise. "Here's the stick." The tortoise decided to grab onto the stick, and the duck started flying across town. The tortoise was thinking to himself, "Wow, it is so beautiful flying." As he went along, many of the passersby were saying, "Wow, look at that tortoise. The tortoise is amazing." The tortoise was very prideful of what he had done, and he continued to fly around. People kept praising him. "Wow, the tortoise is so cool." Eventually, he wanted to speak to the people and show them that he had that secret talent as well. So he said, "Thank you," but as he said that, he let go of the stick and fell to the ground. The duck noticed him and said, "Oh no!" And the duck flew down. She was very sad as her tortoise friend was never to be seen again. Remember, kids, sometimes it's better to stay silent than it is to speak. And the moral of the story is that silence is golden. The end. Thank you everyone for listening to these stories. And if you're interested in more stories, come to the Fairlawn Public Library to try to find some more fables and moral stories. Thank you.
And now I am going to tell another story. This story is another American story, and it comes from a region called Appalachia, which is like West Virginia, Kentucky mountains. And the people in Appalachia have a very rich storytelling tradition. This particular story is called Jack and the Robbers, and it actually has roots from Germany in a German tale called the Brementown Musicians. And many folk tales, both in this country and in other countries, especially the UK, feature boys named Jack. So Jack's a very famous folk tale name. And this one, yes, it's Jack and the Robbers. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Jack who decided to leave home to seek his fortune. So off Jack went down the road, jiggly jolt, jiggity jolt, jiggly jolt, until he met a cat. And the cat said, "Meow, meow, where are you going, Jack?" And Jack said, "I'm off to seek my fortune." And the cat said, "May I come too?" And Jack said, "Certainly." So the cat and Jack went down the road, jiggity jolt, jiggity jolt, jiggity jolt, until they met a dog. "Woof, woof, woof, where are you going, Jack?" asked the dog. "I am going to seek my fortune. May I come too?" "Certainly," said Jack. So the dog and the cat and Jack went down the road, jiggity jolt, jiggity jolt, jiggity jolt, until they met a goat. "Where are you going, Jack?" asked the goat. "I am off to seek my fortune. May I come too?" asked the goat. "Certainly," said Jack. So down the road went the goat, the dog, and the cat, and Jack. Jiggity jolt, jiggity jolt, jiggity jolt, until they met a bull. "Moo," said the bull. "Where are you going, Jack?" "I am off to seek my fortune. May I come too?" "Certainly," said Jack. So the bull, the goat, the dog, the cat, and Jack went down the road, jiggity jolt, until they met a rooster. Cock-a-doodle-doo! Where are you going, Jack? I am off to seek my fortune. Can I come too? Certainly, said Jack. So the rooster, the bull, the goat, the dog, the cat, and Jack went down the road to seek their fortunes. Jiggity jolt, jiggity jolt, jiggity jolt. They went a very long way. Jiggity jolt, jiggity jolt, jiggity jolt. They went up the hill and down the hill and through the valley, up the hill and down the hill and through the valley, up the hill and down the hill and through the valley until it came down dark. Oh no, cried the animals. What shall we do now? We are so hungry and there's nowhere to sleep. We are ruined. Leave that to me, said Jack. And he looked and he saw on top of a nearby hill a house. And inside the house the lights were on. So Jack went over to investigate. He went over to the house and he peered in the window, and guess what he saw inside? Inside, he saw 3 robbers sitting at a table, counting all of their gold. At last, said Jack, my fortune is made. And he called all his friends over because he had an idea. Right underneath the window, he had the bull stand. And on top of the bull, he put the goat. And on top of the goat, he put the dog. And on top of the dog, he put the cat. And on top of the cat, he put the rooster. All right, said Jack, at the count of 3, I want you to make as much noise as you can. 1, 2, 3. Moo! Bah! Woof, 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 meow! Cock-a-doodle-doo! Well, that cacophony made the robbers jump out of their skins, throwing all the coins in the air. They looked out of the window and they saw a monster with 5 heads. Ah! They screamed. They ran out of that house and down the hill and away so quickly. So Jack and the animals went inside, and Jack gathered all of that gold, and he counted all of that gold, and he separated that gold into 6 bags. He gave 1 bag to the bull, and 1 bag to the goat, and 1 bag to the dog, and 1 bag to the cat, and 1 bag to the rooster, and he kept 1 bag to himself. And then the friends went back home the way they had come. Jiggity jolt, jiggity jolt, jiggity jolt. They went up the hill and down the hill and through the valley, up the hill and down the hill and through the valley, up the hill and down the hill and through the valley. Jiggity jolt, jiggity jolt, jiggity jolt, until they came home rich. The end.
Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, lived a little girl and her mother in a cottage. The little girl's name was Little Red Riding Hood, as she wore a beautiful red cape and gown that was knit by her dear, dear grandma. One day, her mother gave her a basket of goodies. Take this basket of goodies to your grandma's house. She's not feeling well. Okay, Mom. And make sure that you don't stop to talk to any strangers along the way. Okay. I'll see you soon. So Little Red Riding Hood set on her way. As she went, she saw beautiful sights. But the most beautiful thing she saw was a huge field of wildflowers. I should pick these flowers for Grandma. She would love them. So Little Red Riding Hood continued to pick the flowers. From far away, a big bad wolf saw her picking the flowers. Ooh, I should go speak to her. She looks delicious. So as the wolf approached Little Red Riding Hood, she said, "Hello, who are you?" "I'm a wolf." "Who are you?" "I am Little Red Riding Hood." "What are you doing, Little Red Riding Hood?" "I'm picking these flowers for my grandma." "What a great idea. You should pick a big bunch of them so you can make a huge bouquet for her." "That's a great idea, Mr. Wolf. Thank you." So Little Red Riding Hood continued to pick the flowers as the wolf got a great idea in his head. He set off to Grandma's house, ready to go. As he went to Grandma's house, he knocked on the door, and Grandma answered, "Hello." "Hello," and he pounced on her. The wolf decided to eat the grandma whole. As he finished eating Grandma, he decided to take her dress and gown and sit in her bed, waiting for Little Red Riding Hood so he can get the second part of his meal. and he waited. Sooner or later, Little Red Riding Hood came to the door. "Hello, Grandma!" But nobody answered the door. She slowly creeped her way in and saw Grandma sitting on the bed. What is Grandma doing on the bed? The lights were dim, but she could still make out somewhat of Grandma. "Why, Grandma, what big eyes you have!" "The bigger the eyes, the better I can see you with, dear." "Why, Grandma, what big ears you have!" "The bigger the ears, the better I can hear you with, dear." "Why, Grandma, what big teeth you have!" "The bigger the teeth, the better I can eat you with, dear." The wolf decided to pounce on Little Red Riding Hood, but before he could do that, she decided to run off screaming. "Ah!" She left the house, and as she left, she saw a big axeman along the way. "Help! Help!" The big axeman decided to follow her into the house and saw the wolf in there. The big axeman decided to take the wolf, open his stomach, and save Grandma. And there she popped out. Little Red Riding Hood was so happy. Yay! So she hung out with Grandma while the axeman took the wolf and killed him. After that, Little Red Riding Hood, Grandma, and the axeman all decided to eat the basket of goodies together. The axeman took Little Red Riding Hood home and gave her to her mother. She said to her, "Mom, I will never ever talk to strangers ever again." And they all lived happily ever after. The end.
For my next tale, I am going to tell the story Peace and Quiet. And this story comes from the Yiddish tradition, specifically from Russia. And it's a pretty famous tale, and it's told in a lot of different ways. A lot of versions you may hear, it involves a wife and children making lots of noise. I have a very simplified version of this story, and I kind of love it. So here we go, Peace and Quiet. Once upon a time, there was a man who lived by himself in a little house. The little house was by a very good farm that the man owned. He had chickens and pigs and cows and horses, but he was very unhappy. You see, he could never get any peace and quiet. At night, the man would go to bed, but as he lay in his bed, the door creaked. Creak! The floorboards by his little bed squeaked. Squeak! And the windows rattled. Rattle, 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 all night long. So every morning the man woke up and he was so tired because he couldn't get any peace and quiet. And finally, he couldn't take it anymore. And he went to the home of the wise woman. "Wise woman, wise woman." "Yes, may I help you?" "Oh, wise woman, please help me. My house is so noisy. I tried to go up to bed at night, but the doors creak and the floors squeak and the windows rattle all night long. I can't get any peace and quiet." Said the wise woman. "That is a problem. Let me think." So the wise woman thought, and she thought, and she thought, and she thought. "Aha! I've got it," she said. "Do you by any chance own a chicken?" "Well, yes, I have plenty of chickens," said the man. "Tonight, when you go to bed, take a chicken and bring the chicken into your little house." "Well, okay," said the man. He thought that was very strange, but he was willing to give it a try. So he went home, and that night, right before he was ready to go to bed, he took a chicken and he put it in his little house. And he went into bed and tried to close his eyes. But as he lay in bed, the door creaked. Creak! The floorboards squeaked. Squeak! The windows rattled. Rattle, 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 rattle. And the chicken cackled. Bawk, bawk, bawk. "Oh," said the man, "too noisy." And he got up in the morning and he went back to the wise woman. Wise woman, I tried. I did what you said. I brought in the chicken. It was even noisier than the night before." "Oh," said the wise woman, "let me think about this." So she thought, and she thought, and she thought, and she thought. "Aha!" she said, "I've got it. Do you by any chance have a pig?" "Well, yes, I have pigs," said the man. "Tonight, when you go to sleep, bring a pig into your little house first to join the chicken." "Well, okay," said the man, "I'll give it a try." So even though he thought that was very strange, that night before he went to bed, he took his pig and he brought it into his little house with the chicken, and he went to bed. As he lay in bed, the door creaked. Creak! The floorboards squeaked. Squeak! The windows rattled. Rattle, 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 rattle. The chicken cackled. Pop, pop, pop! And the pig oinked. Oink, 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 oink. Oh, said the man holding his head. Too noisy! And he got even less sleep than the night before. In the morning, he went back to the wise woman. Wise woman, said the man. I got even less sleep than the night before. Oh, said the wise woman. Let me think about this. So she thought and she thought and she thought and she thought. And she thought and she thought and she thought and she thought. I got it, said the wise woman. Do you by any chance have a horse? Oh, said the man, I have a very nice horse. Tonight when you go to sleep, bring the horse into your little house to join the pig and the chicken. Okay, said the man. Now he thought this was very strange, but he went home, and that night before he went to sleep, he took his horse and brought it into his house to join the pig and the chicken, and he went into his little bed, and he tried to close his eyes, but the door creaked. Creak! The floorboards squeaked. Squeak! The windows rattled. Rattle, 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 rattle. The chicken cackled. Pop, pop, pop! The pig oinked. Oink, oink, oink. And the horse neighed. The man sat up in bed, holding his head, saying, too noisy. So the next day, he went back to the home of the wise woman. Wise woman, please help me. I got even less sleep than the night before. Oh, said the wise woman. Well, that is a problem. Let me think about this. So she thought and she thought and she thought and she thought. And she thought and she thought and she thought and she thought. Aha, she said. Do you have a cow? I know, said the man. And he went home. And that night, before he went to bed, he brought in his cow. And his cow joined the horse and the pig and the chicken. And the man went into his little bed and tried to close his eyes. But the door creaked. Creak! And the floorboards squeaked. Squeak! And the windows rattled. Rattle, 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 rattle. And the chicken cackled. Pop, 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 pop. And the pig oinked. Oink, 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 oink. And the horse neighed. Neigh! And the cow mooed. Moo! The man sat up in bed holding his head. Too noisy, he said. So the next day, he went to the house of the wise woman. Wise woman, please help me. I did not sleep a wink last night. How does a man live if he doesn't sleep? Oh, said the wise woman, you need help. Let me think. So she thought and she thought and she thought and she thought. And she thought and she thought and she thought and she thought. And she thought and she thought and she thought and she thought. I've got it, she said. I think it is time for you to get all of those noisy animals out of your house. So the man went home. He put the cow back in the barn. He put the horse back in the barn. He put the pig back in the barn. He put the chicken back in the barn. And then he crawled into his little bed, closed his eyes, and mercifully went to sleep. As he slept, the door creaked. Creak! But the man slept on. The floorboards squeaked. Squeak! But the man slept on. The windows rattled. Rattle, 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 rattle. But the man slept on. The next morning, the man woke up refreshed and rested. Ah, he said, peace and quiet at last. The end. At this point, we're going to be doing some drawing stories. So if you'd like to put Amirta and myself on pause, please do. Here's Amirta. She's going to be doing the drawing. Go and collect some papers, get something to write with. You're going to need, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of paper. It could be scrap paper. And as I tell this story, Amirta's going to draw, and you're going to want to draw just as Amirta does, okay? And at the end, you'll see we have made a picture together. And some of these stories are from different countries. This one's just kind of an American story, and I love this one, and I tell this one a lot. And I'm not going to tell you the title because that would give away what we're drawing. But here we go. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Tommy. Here is a T for Tommy. Tommy's best friend was Sally, who lived down the road in a dairy. Here is an S for Sally. Tommy lived in a house with 2 rooms shaped like triangles. In each room there was a window. The house had 2 chimneys, one on each side. To get in and out, Tommy had a wee double door on both sides, and on both sides of the doorstep there was long grass. One day, Tommy went out of his house. He wanted to go and buy some cream from Sally. He walked down the road until he came to Sally's house. I would like to buy some cream, said Tommy. All right, said Sally, let's go into the cellar to get it. They went down to the cellar and they poured out a pitcher of cream and started to climb back up the steps. Tommy, who was carrying the pitcher, spilled some of the cream, and he and Sally slipped on it and tumbled back into the cellar. Let me carry it, said Sally. She took the pitcher and climbed back up. When they got outside, Sally suggested they take the shortcut. They went along a path for a while, but then, just before they were about to climb the hill to Tommy's house, they came to a slippery spot. And instead of climbing, they fell down. Up they jumped, and as they were about to try climbing once more, Sally spilled the cream, and down she slid, with Tommy following after her. At last, carrying the empty pitcher, they were able to climb all the way up the hill to Tommy's house. "Oh!" cried Sally. "I wish I had some cream left." "Why?" asked Tommy. "For the big cat." And here we are, and you should have drawn a big cat. Yep, that was a surprise. The end. All right, Mr. Mirchi, you can erase that. And the next story we're going to tell is a story from Japan. 3 little worms came crawling along, crawling along, crawling along. 3 rice crackers were singing a song, singing a song, singing a song. It started raining, 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 raining. It started sleeting, 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 sleeting. And then all of a sudden, oh, what a surprise! There was an octopus right before my eyes. There you go. You've drawn an octopus. The end. And I'll tell you what, we're going to keep in Japan with a story that's called, Shall I Draw Your Portrait? First, I must make the number 10 sideways. Then I will make a number 3 also sideways. Next, I must put in 2 small zeros. Below them, I must put in a small hill. Above them, I must put in a curving road. Now, 2 donuts. One for you and one for me. Now, stick out your tongue because you are a monkey. The end. All right, let's go to Malaysia. A small circle, a small circle, now a bigger circle, then a great big circle. 6, draw the number 6, times 6, draw another 6, that makes 36, another 6, and 6. I love Papa. I love Mama. Good night. And what happens? A teddy bear appears to go with you to bed. The end. And this is our last one. And I like this one because it kind of feels very fairy tale-ish. And it's actually from a very small country in Europe called Denmark. And it's about a prince. And this is how this goes. There once was a prince who lived in a castle with 3 towers. Here is the castle. It was always very busy in the castle. One day the prince decided to go for a walk. He walked around to the side of the castle and along the straight path in front of it, and after a while he came to a big lake. He saw that there was an island in the lake. It wasn't far, so he swam to the island and he played there all day, having fun by himself with no one to order him about. Suddenly he noticed it was beginning to get dark. He started to walk down the path, but it was so dark he did not see that he was walking slightly above the path. He did not notice the big stone at the edge. He stumbled, bumped against the stone, and continued along his way. But before long, he bumped against a 3rd stone, an even bigger one. When he arrived at the castle door, he could not open it because he had lost his key when he stumbled in the dark. Who can help him find the key? Ta-da! There it is. There's the key. You just drew it. Good job. And that, my friends, are our drawing stories for today. But if you look online, you can find other draw stories, or you can look at the library because we have books of drawing stories, and they're so fun to do. So thank you very much for drawing with us. And now we are going to have one final story. I always like to end my storytelling programs with this particular story because it talks about how every family has stories. And if tonight, if you go to bed, if you ask your mom or your dad, can you share a story with me? Maybe one you heard when you were a little girl or boy. Your grown-up may say, oh no, I don't know any stories. No one ever told me stories. But you know what? Every family has stories. So maybe it's a regular classic folk tale like the 3 Little Pigs, or maybe it's a story that happened to somebody in your family many years ago, but the stories are there. And all you need to do is ask. And to tell this last final tale, I am going to use this little doll, and it's called a Matryoshka doll, and it is from the country of Russia. And this is not really a Russian story, but I have to tell you, this doll works perfectly in telling it. And this features mothers and grandmothers, but you know what? Dads have stories too, and so do grandpas. So just because my doll is a mother, that's what I'm going with. All right. If you, tonight, before bed, ask your mother, Mother, can you tell me a story that you heard when you were a little girl? Your mother might think of a story that she heard when she was a little girl, night after night, time after time, told by her mother, your grandmother. And maybe that same story your grandmother heard night after night, time after time, told by her mother, your great-grandmother. And maybe your great-grandmother heard that story night after night, time after time, from her mother, your great-great-grandmother. And maybe your great-great-grandmother heard that story night after night, time after time from her mother, your great-great-great-grandmother. And maybe your great-great-great-grandmother heard that story night after night, time after time from her mother, your great-great-great-great-grandmother. And that story has passed through all those generations. So let's put these guys back. This is your great-great-great-great-grandmother. Told the story to your great-great-great-grandmother, who told it to your great-great-grandmother, who told it to your great-grandmother, who told it to your grandmother, who told it to your mother, who now will tell it to you. And who knows, maybe one day you will grow up and fall in love and have children of your own. And maybe those boys and girls will say to you, Mommy, Daddy, can you tell me a story that you heard when you were a little boy or you were a little girl? And you'll remember that story that your mother just shared with you. And you will share it with your own children. And that way, the story will live on from generation to generation into the future until the end of time. The end. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for listening. And remember, share your stories, tell your stories, live your stories. Bye.